burnout, creative guilt, and overwhelm. These are three things that I personally struggled with in 2022. And since I just got done doing my big 2023 planning session in January, I wanted to share a few things that I'm doing differently in 2023 to avoid falling back into those pitfalls. Hi, I'm Britt from Thriving Scribes, and I help indie fiction authors build sustainable author careers. So if you are a fiction author looking to self-publish your books and make a living from them, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Now, before I dive into what I'm changing, let's rewind a little bit and give a little bit of backstory. Last year, those three big no-no feelings that I mentioned at the beginning of this video seemed like a common theme all throughout the year. However, around June, July time, they seemed to really crash down on me and become something that I just couldn't ignore any longer. This led to a 6-month hiatus where I halted all publishing activities, I shut down all of my offers at Thriving Scribes, and I completely left social media. Did write, but it was more of exploratory writing versus something with a strict schedule that I was doing only with the end goal of having something to publish. Now, during this time off, it was quite refreshing. It was just what I needed, and it gave me a lot of time to reflect on what I needed moving forward when I was ready to come back, what it needed to look like so that I wouldn't end up back in the same spot that I was in June. So when November came along and I was ready to dive back into getting ready to step back into the online business world and authorship in general, I knew some changes needed to be made. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The very first thing that I'm doing different, and the first thing I started working on when I came back, was closing down some of my prior commitments. So I looked at everything that I had going on and realized there was a lot that I was doing that no longer felt aligned or took away from a lot of the time that I could be using otherwise to do the things that I really wanted to be doing. Doing this would allow me to have more time and more energy to focus on what my priorities are going to be in 2023. So what this looked like for me was actually closing down 2 different side brands that I was managing, little side businesses that I was doing that was taking up a lot of my time and my energy. This also looked like completely restructuring my business model over at Thriving Scribes and restructuring my product suite there. And it also looked like saying goodbye to a pen name that I had been building up over the past 2 years. Now, those first 2 changes there have a lot to do with freeing up that time and energy that could be spent resting or prioritizing what it is I'm really wanting to focus on in the year. But that last one, saying goodbye to a pen name that I had been building for the past 2 years, that one has to do with that creative guilt that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So for me, I had struggled feeling passionate and aligned with that specific genre for a very long time. But those stories that I was publishing under that pen name had been stories I'd been working on for 6 or so years. And I was beginning to feel a lot of creative guilt about the way that I was feeling about what I was doing there. I just was not loving it anymore. And I knew that I had people waiting on more from me. And so I kind of got into this mindset where I was feeling like I just needed to push through and get it done so that I could be free, metaphorically, right? Eventually, though, I decided that this pen name and these projects just were not worth my creativity and my mental health. So I decided that it was time to close the book on that chapter of my life. And that meant that I was spending a lot of the end of 2022 wrapping up some loose ends and getting it ready for me to leave, really. That way, in 2023, I could really focus on my next creative pursuit without having any more of that creative guilt attached to it. Which brings me to the second thing that I'm doing differently in 2023, which is to launch a new pen name. Only this time, I'm going to be doing it in a way I've never done before. I'll be experimenting with a whole new publishing structure and business model. One of the things I always teach my author clients is when they are first getting started to map out a business plan and a publishing structure front. So of course, when I decided to go forward with building my own new pen name from scratch, that is my first step as well. This time around, my plan is to utilize the serial to novel release structure as well as a cyclical publishing strategy. Now, I'm not going to go into too much details about this system because it is an experiment and I don't have any data to share behind it yet. But I can tell you, number one, that I will be utilizing Kindle Vella platform in order to do this. And number two, why I decided to go this route. One of the biggest reasons I chose to follow this path is because publishing as a serial first and then a novel later allows me to monetize my writing and build an audience faster and earlier than it would if I were writing the full novel upfront and just releasing that as normal. The second reason is that this process really just jives with my creative flow. My writing style has always been kind of naturally episodic in flavor, and so being able to write and release serialized fiction really just feels like a breath of fresh air for me, and I am so excited for what is to come for that pen name in 2023. Also, if you're unfamiliar, Kindle Vella is Amazon's serial fiction platform. It's kind of like Amazon's newest publishing baby, and it's still in beta. But I have played with it a bit in 2022, and I'm ready to dive headfirst into it in 2023. All right, the third thing that I'm doing differently this year in 2023 when it comes to my approach to authorship and business in general is slowing down. So in the past few years, really, it seems like every couple of months or so, I've been adding something new to my plate to take on. And at the same time, my creative energies and my time that I had available, my free time, was dwindling down into mere nothing. And so, as well as being an author and an entrepreneur, I'm also a homeschooling mom to 3 kids who are home with me all day long. And I'm also starting college part-time this spring. So I know that my work and writing schedule needs to be able to align with that. So obviously, I'm going to need to strip down what I'm doing and simplify and streamline a lot of what I was doing before. For me, this means only formally working 3 days out of the week. This includes working with clients over at Thriving Scribes, managing my programs, as well as book publishing and marketing tasks. Pretty much everything that I do in business and authorship are going to have to fit into 3 days of my week. That leaves the other 2 plus the weekend to focus on school tasks, whether that's with my children or college work or just having some rest and free time. I've been known to be quite the workaholic in the past, and I'm making it my mission this year not to continue that cycle. The only things I'm really allowing myself to do on those days off are writing sprints if I'm feeling called to, if I'm feeling inspired, or hopping on Instagram stories, which is one of my main platforms of the year that I'm really going to be focusing my efforts on. So obviously for me, this means scaling way, way back on my schedule and what I am assigning my priorities as each week. That brings me to the fourth big change of 2023, which is scaling back on social media and streamlining my online platforms. Now, as a book marketing strategist, I know how important an online platform is. I have seen the results of authors who have absolutely no online presence and those who have a really strategically set up and designed author platform. So for my brand new pen name that I am working towards in 2023, I've already set up what I'm calling my minimum viable author platform. Do plan on building on this as the year goes. For now, what that looks like is a very MVP, minimum viable author website, an email list, and Instagram. I'm taking the same minimum viable approach for my online presence and social media marketing strategy and Thriving Scribes as well. This way, I'm able to scale way back on the activities that I'm doing, simplify my marketing, and focus on those key things that really do bring me results. I've had enough time under my belt here to experiment and watch the data and see which activities are leading towards the most results that I'm going for and help me achieve my goals the most. And so that is really what I'm leading into more in 2023 versus the be everywhere and show up everywhere tactic that I've tried in the past. What that looks like with Thriving Scribes is sticking to YouTube as my main content outlet, and then Instagram for community building and attracting new people into my audience. So you'll see me doing a lot of reels over there. You'll see me doing daily Instagram stories, which is my favorite place to hang out and chat. And really, my two biggest platforms when it comes to content creation for the year ahead for Thriving Scribes will be YouTube and Instagram. And then, of course, all my VIPs are on my newsletter list. That is where I mainly connect and communicate with my audience. So there you have it. Those are the things that I'm doing differently in 2023. And now the question becomes, what can you take out of this? So firstly, the biggest thing I wanted your takeaway to be when you leave this video is knowing that you can absolutely change the way that you are approaching authorship, or really any online entrepreneurial journey that you're taking. Your journey and your processes don't have to look anything like anybody else's. And secondly, follow your intuition. If your intuition is telling you that something is not feeling right, something that you're doing is not aligned with your goals that you have set out for yourself or the way that you're living your lifestyle, or they're clashing, it may be time to listen to that voice and figure out what it is it's telling you and how you can change what you're doing for the better, to feel better, to lean more into that ease, and to do things that really do feel more aligned for you and your author business. So before you go anywhere, I want you to tell me in the comments below, what is one shift that you can make going forward in 2023 that will allow you to lean more into ease and alignment? Or what ways are you experimenting or going against the grain in authorship this year? I can't wait to hear from you. And if you'd like to see more behind the scenes on how I manage all the things in my author business, from my big annual planning down to managing day-to-day tasks, then definitely go and watch the video that you see on your screen right now, because it will walk you through the entire process that I go through each year, quarter, month, and week in order to stay on track with authorship. See you there.